everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Let's talk briefly about data migration. We see a lot of organizations wrestling with issues of data migration as they contemplate digital transformations. It could be upgrading an ERP system. It could be taking a look at purchasing a new piece of software. There are a variety of different reasons. Typically, when an organization is evaluating their data, it becomes quite apparent quite quickly that in many organizations, what they've been doing is basically vacuuming the ocean for data, storing that data, frankly, because storage is relatively inexpensive. But the question becomes, why are you storing that data? How relevant is it to what it is you do in your business? And we like to think of things almost from a triage perspective. What do you need to have? What would be useful to have? And what would be nice to have? Frankly, what would be irrelevant? And a lot of organizations seem to have difficulty in understanding the concept around data migration from an integrity perspective. And by integrity, I mean this. As you take a look at the data that is in your purview, if you've been working to capture and harvest data, internal data, data on customers, marketing success programs, et cetera, it's often a challenge to understand the context of that data in your business. How relevant is it, not only to today, but is it likely to be tomorrow in the future? And it reminds me of a story that I just read yesterday, as a matter of fact. I received an email from someone in Australia, and the focus of the email was how to survive a kangaroo attack. Now, it seemed to me that unless I was in Australia, unless I was in the outback, that probably that wouldn't be too relevant to my day-to-day life. And I live in Ontario, Canada, so clearly we don't have a lot of kangaroos running around here and threatening people. That said, I know it sounds a bit funny, but there's a very serious side to this. And that gets to relevancy. So as C-level executives and senior management start to take a look at informing their strategy for business, their strategy for the context of a digital transformation. What does that mean to their customers? What does that mean to their employees? How might that affect their brand? Does data migration open them up to potentially more serious situations, theft, ransomware, et cetera, et cetera? So I mentioned the story about the kangaroo attacks in Australia because, frankly, where I live or where I work and where I operate in North America, that, while it might be useful to someone in Australia, really is not particularly useful to me. And it seems that the ongoing theme in understanding data migration is what data needs to be moved from one system or platform to another. We see organizations that are spending so much money migrating data that, one, should probably not even exist at all. Secondly, if it does, it has potentially marginal benefit to their business in the short and long term. And frankly, because the storage is cheap, they keep paying storage fees for all of this data, which incrementally grows over time, which may not be a big issue as far as the cost of the storage of that data is concerned, but where it can become a monumental problem, not only in cost, but in efficacy of working through a digital transformation, is which data are you going to select to migrate? Again, if I were to choose the story of the kangaroo attack in Australia as something that I wanted to rally around, it really would be a waste of exercise, it would be a waste of resources, it would be a waste of time, energy, etc. Because in my particular situation, where I live, where I work, that's not an issue. So the question that I would put out there to a lot of the C folks and folks in senior IT is trying to take a critical look at which data is relevant to your current and future operations. Yes, if you have vacuumed the ocean and you want to keep storing all of that data, that's fine, but that doesn't mean you need to migrate everything. This is where all kinds of problems happen. Now, we have a particular way of approaching this, and I'll reference from our SAP world. The standard as-is assessment, which is normally conducted by consultants with clipboards and maybe a piece of software here and there, can often take 1 year to 2 years to complete an as-is, a baseline assessment, to really understand what your SAP footprint looks like. That's complicated by the fact that a system may have been in place for 30 years. So it's been susceptible to all kinds of issues and problems. There may not be adequate documentation. Clearly, over a 30-year period, the leadership of your IT team and the people that work to support your IT, both internally and as consultants, have come and gone. You know, over 20, 30 years, it's very common, obviously, for people to move and to get new careers and new jobs, etc. This poses enormous problems for organizations trying to complete an as-is assessment. Then you introduce the notion of human error, and then on top of that, when we understand that most human-facilitated review, an assessment of their as-is state, often provides only a level 2 or level 3 peek at your data, at your environment, at who has used which software, when was the last time it was used, what's the difference between custom and out of the box, etc., etc. So by the way we approach our SAP as-is assessments, we're in a situation where we're very focused. We're using a third-party app. So when I say third-party, SAP has provided a referral of this particular tool right from the CTO of the office of the CTO at SAP. So you know it comes with a pedigree of due diligence, and we've also completed over 1,800 assessments for organizations across 15 different industries, and that database of what we're finding of problems that are rising out is continuously growing every single day. So on the topic of data migration, this particular as-is assessment is extremely powerful because it gets right down to the date and time stamp of when the last piece of software, including data, was used. And so if you're going to not be in a position where you're mortally terrified of a kangaroo attack in downtown Toronto, if you want to put the right perspective on your environment, on your technology, on your business, on your strategy, on your brand, on your customers, on your shareholders, it's really important to take the time to understand the context of your data. Please don't make the mistake of just willy-nilly migrating all the data. Take some time, and we can help with these kinds of exercises. They're very effective, very efficient, extremely cost-effective. In fact, as I look at some of the stats we're seeing from an ROI perspective, I know it sounds incredible to be able to take a 1 to 2 year SAP as-is assessment and be able to complete the whole thing down to level 6 in one roundtable session in 1 day. That's how effective and efficient this is. What it does is it lays a foundation and a framework for how organized can inform their strategy, inform their operational plans, their project plans, resourcing plans, etc. And more importantly, it allows them to get out ahead of these digital transformation projects by being able to prioritize and engage them much more quickly. So this gets to other advantages like first to market or maintaining some kind of differentiation from your competitors, etc. So again, not all data is relevant. You may want to store that data, but you may not want to be migrating that data continuously over and over again, especially if it has little to no value. Just like for me, being afraid of a kangaroo attack in downtown Toronto is probably not something I need to be too concerned about. Anyway, I hope you liked this. I hope it was informative. Please feel free to like and follow us. Please feel free to share this with anyone in your network, or email us at info@aiinc.cloud, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Look forward to sharing some more insights through these videos. Thanks again for sharing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.